Alright, so I came to see MrCreepyPasta and CreepsMyPasta and Myuu. Basically, they're really big in the creepypasta / horror community on YouTube. And yeah, right now I'm waiting for the show to start, and I'm actually in the bar area. So it's nice and dark, nice and atmospheric. But yeah, I'm ready to watch the show. Hopefully during the show I can record some stuff. We'll see how that goes. Hello everyone! Wannabe Reviewer here from the future to say that I am a huge dork, and unfortunately I forgot to charge my phone that night, so I wasn't able to get as much footage as I would have wanted to get. So instead, the way this is going to work is that I'll have a few clips from the event, and then it'll come back to me, I'll kind of narrate maybe some of the stuff that's going on or what's coming up, and there'll be footage again. And, I mean, to be fair, the whole event was like 2 hours, maybe more than 2 hours. So recording the whole thing would have been kind of weird anyway. You know, it's one of those, it's better if you're there sort of thing. But still, you know, I still want to show off some of it. So yeah, expect clips from the show, and then pieces of me, you know, kind of like I said, narrating what's going to happen, and then back to the show. So for instance, right now, I just gave my intro, right? And the next thing that'll happen is that when I walked into the bar, which was like in this basement area, the show was supposed to start at around 8, and they let us in quite early at around like 7:30 so we could get our seats. And it was pretty cool because once we walked in, there was like this, you know, dark stage, and it was decorated, which you guys will see in a moment, and they just had, you know, creepypasta music playing. And so like that was really cool, so check it out. So I loved it, you know, I think it was like a really special experience walking in. There was, like I said, this dark stage, it's decorated, it has the music playing, it has like the screen with each of like the personas on it. And I just thought it was like really cool how it's in this basement area. It just makes you feel like you're attending this secret show, which is really cool. And so of course, you know, I had to sit there for about half an hour, which, you know, kind of building tension. I'm getting excited to see what the show's gonna be about. And yeah, then finally, you know, MrCreepyPasta comes on the stage, and he introduces himself, and he introduces the musician Myuu, and, you know, check it out.
MrCreepyPasta, how's it going? Everybody having a good night? Yeah! Well, I want to tell you all, welcome to the Halloween Storytime show. Yeah. You guys ready to get a little spooky tonight? Yeah. Ready to get a little crazy with stuff tonight? Yeah! Most importantly, you guys ready to have fun with all of us tonight? Okay. All of them is what I'm talking about. Okay, so a friend of mine came all the way from Germany to be able to perform for you, and he's going to be helping us set the mood for some of the activities that are going on tonight. So, if you can give him a big welcome, please, my friend Myuu.
Hi guys, hi everyone. I'm Myuu, the composer for many creepypasta creators over the years, and I'll make sure that you guys are getting into the mood for the spooks tonight by playing some classic creepypasta piano tracks and Halloween songs. Yeah. Alright. I'll start with the first one that's called Scent of Night. Have fun. Hey, and that's me.
So that's pretty fun. You know, MrCreepyPasta comes out, introduces himself, he introduces Myuu. Myuu plays like a song or two, and then, you know, of course, they bring out CreepsMyPasta, who was here for the first time all the way from England.
First show that he's doing in America, his first public appearance. Everybody welcome MrCreepyPasta.
Yeah. Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, good. No, so this is my first tour. This is the third show on the tour. And I realize this is the 5th state I've visited now.
All right.
Ever since I came to the States, yeah, it's exciting. But I'm a little sad when I came here when I came to America this time, because I did something really stupid. I did something really dumb. I accidentally became lactose intolerant. Yeah, it's really stupid. It turns out if you don't have dairy long enough, eventually you just stop being able to process it. And something I always look forward to every time I go to America is trying the dirtiest, filthiest food you guys have. And it all contains dairy. So you don't realize it until you can't have it, but 99% of everything fun to eat has dairy in this country.
Man.
Unfortunately, McPasta's parts of the show, I don't know. I mean, his were kind of like the longest parts. They're the ones where I wasn't really sure if to like record or not. So unfortunately, I don't have as much footage of him. But trust me, like I said, it's one of those things where you had to be there anyway. He was just really fun, talking about his experiences, like as you saw, his experiences in America for like the first time ever. Then he had like some stuff where he explained a little game show he was gonna had. I mean, that was really funny. So check it out.
When you build points, you can get some prizes. Yeah, you can't see me. Don't worry, I will walk over. So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to build up points, and if you get 1 point, you can help yourself to my authentic, dairy-free McPasta beans. I grew them myself. I do not recommend eating them. Now, if you get 2 points, you get this authentic, handwritten, 1 free anything voucher from the store outside. Cash it in yourself. I believe they'll take it. If you get 3 points, you get my poster, which I made myself. They're out there. They're double-sided too, so it's like 2 for the price of 1, and it's signed as well. So it's a little unique. It's really cute. Now, if you get 4 points, this is the exciting one. You get some authentic, homegrown McPasta weed. Do you know what? We're not in California anymore. No, it's tea. This one's tea.
And yeah, so he started the game, and unfortunately, like I said, I didn't get footage of that because, number one, my phone was, crappy. I barely had, 10% left on it to record. And number two, there was, technical difficulties here and there, and so I wasn't sure when to record. But trust me, the little game show is really fun. Basically, Creeps had people come up, and there was 5 rounds basically that you could do. And for each round, if you got the answer right or whatever, if you survived the round, then you got a point. And at the end of the 5 rounds, depending on how many points you had, that's what got you one of the prizes he talked about. Whether it was the poster or the voucher or the tea or / weed or whatever. So that was really fun, Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of that. I mean, not really, but it was just a really fun, really cheesy time, And then of course from there we got back to MrCreepyPasta, and MrCreepyPasta, since his specialty is the narration, he started introducing to us the 3 types of fear. And according to, he quotes Stephen King, there are 3 types of fear, which are...
There's girls out horror that play along with me here. Close your eyes. You are in a room, pitch black, and you can smell something that's rancid. You can hear the drip of something wet onto the ground around you. When you take a step, you can hear a squish. You can feel something wet moving between your toes. And when the light comes on, you see something that you don't want to see. Something disgusting. You can open your eyes now. Something disgusting, like gore and blood, intestines, poop, something like that. Something you absolutely don't want to see. The second one he describes is called horror. Horror is, once again, close your eyes. Horror is when you can hear the scrape of something metal against the wall. You can feel something brush past you, but you can't tell where it goes in the darkness. You can feel breath on the back of your neck. But when light comes on, you see something there that can actually harm you, or another character. You see Jason, or Freddy, Leatherface, Xenomorph, something like that. And the final one is called terror. That one's really hard to define. Terror is when you're in that completely dark room and you can smell something rancid. You can hear the scrape of metal against the wall. But when light comes on, there's nothing there. I believe Vincent had told me that it was coming home and finding that everything inside your house had been replaced with an exact copy of what it was. It's very hard to quantify. But each one of these stories is going to bring you a small chunk of those each individual parts of horror. Everybody here had dinner, right? Sweet, I'm sorry about that. Our first one is Gross Out Horror, and it's a story called Out of Me by Vincent Vinicava.
So for the gross out horror story, he tells a story called Out of Me by Vincent Vinicava. And of course, I wasn't able to get all of it because it's like a long story. It's like 10 minutes. But I do have a little clip to show you guys. You guys kind of get an idea of what the story's like. And of course, I'm going to put the title of the story on the screen. I'm going to put the author's name. And if I can find it, I'll of course put a link in the description below, like where you can read the story. Because like, this is the gross out horror. It's really gross. Just, take a listen.
I stared down at it once I was finished, horrified at what had just come out of me. No wonder I lost so much weight. The tapeworm was massive. It was feeding off of my food for close to a year, and then a new idea popped into my head. One that terrified me even more than the parasite wriggling around in the sink. All of the good things that had happened to me. The way my doctor stopped nagging me, the new friends from work I had made, my girlfriend who I absolutely adored. They had all been because of the weight loss. And I had the tapeworm to thank for that. Without it absorbing the nutrients from the junk food that I've been eating, I need to make some serious life changes in order to keep up with the weight loss. Working out, eating salads, giving up sweets. There was no way I'd be able to do that. I failed at it before. I knew I would fail again. Soon enough, I'd get fat again. My whole life would go back to being that sad and lonely existence that it once was. I couldn't lose it. The worm was going into its death throes, and I was sure that I wouldn't see it survive for much longer without a host. There was a way to prevent that. The worm didn't want to die. I didn't want to get fat again. Maybe, I thought, it wasn't really a parasite at all. Maybe our relationship was mutually beneficial. Maybe we could help each other before it was too late. I plunged my hand into the sink and began to fish around for the end of the tapeworm. I still had weight to lose. Another 8 months or so and my BMI would be in the healthy range. I located the end of the worm and I sucked the slippery thing into my mouth. It didn't taste as bad as I thought it would. But I could feel it twist and squirm all the way down into my stomach.
So yeah, pretty gross. Basically, it's a story about a guy that accidentally, ingests a tapeworm. However, he gets so used to losing all the weight with the tapeworm that near the end, he starts putting the tapeworm back inside of him. And it's really gross, and it goes into like all sorts of details. If you can handle it, like I said, I think you guys should check out the story. It's really good. It's like really it's like the right type of creepy. From here, of course, this is where I'm kind of start mixing things up, because basically the way the show worked is that MrCreepyPasta would tell a story, then Myuu would come on and perform some songs, and then we would cut back to McPasta, and he would tell some stories about his experience like here in America, and he had like his game show going on, that sort of thing. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to go a little bit out of order. So, for instance, here, I'm going to show a few of, the Myuu parts. And yeah, Myuu is just, a really talented, artist, musician. He just has some, really good, piano music and, all sorts of other stuff. And yeah, he has everything from, creepy music, which I showed earlier, to sad music, such as this. he had like this really cool Stranger Things type like synth thing going on, which, you know, check it out. And he even had this cool remix that I swear I recorded the footage, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I must have lost it somehow. But he had this awesome remix, you know, near the end, where he goes from like one horror like song to the other, like seamlessly. Like, you know, he goes from like, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street to Halloween to This Is Halloween from The Nightmare Before Christmas to the Addams Family theme to all sorts of songs. And of course, it had to end with... So yeah, so that was Myuu's part. You know, Myuu just came out with all sorts of great music. It was a lot of fun. Guy, like I said, is super talented. And yeah, I mean, I would suggest checking his music out. He's an awesome freaking artist slash, you know, musician. And I just had a lot of fun. You know, that part of the show was great. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go a bit out of order, but the next thing I wanted to share is that MrCreepyPasta, you know, took the stage again, and he basically started introducing the second part of, you know, the three, like, layers of fear, I guess you could say. So, you know, check it out.
So, when I was a kid, long before, when I was just a wee creepypasta, a little kid, around Halloween, they invited over this guy to tell us scary stories. He told us, like, oh, it's the story of the Taily Pop. You guys know the story of the Taily Pop, right? Like, old campfire story. Well, using just his voice, essentially, he made this incredible, terrifying scenario for all of us, and scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like, I couldn't sleep on my own. Like, I was, like, doing, like, the crying and taking a teddy bear in a mom's room, like, like, for, like, weeks. And, honestly, when I started doing this, I was like, man, I really would love to be able to do that for other people. I would love to be able to, just using my voice, create something that I knew would be like long-lasting for them, just using like a campfire story. A friend of mine did a book called Right Behind You, named J.R. Wilson, and he put together a campfire story, and I asked him to let me be able to use this. If you guys have been over my panels before, you probably heard this story. It's one of my favorite stories to be able to perform live, and I hope all of you guys are going to get a kick out of it. If you haven't heard it before, don't fucking say it.
And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what this story is called, because he only really references the book that it's from, but it's from a book called Look Behind You, and I'll try my best to, you know, find information so I can link it in the description, but it's just this really interesting story that, you know, it's meant to be, like, more of, like, a terror thing, because it's more, like, dealing with, like, the supernatural and stuff, so I have a little snippet of it.
In 1800s Georgia, there lived a wealthy young woman in a grand plantation house. The woman's name was Annabelle Walters, and she inherited her fortune from her father, who had made his money in cotton farming. Now, in 1864, baby Annabelle almost died in a fire set by William Sherman's soldiers on their march to the sea. Her mother saved her from death, but could not save her left arm, which was so badly burned that it had to be amputated. The rest of Annabelle's body and her pretty face remained unscathed, but her father wanted the replacement for her arm to be as beautiful and as perfect as the rest of her. So, when Annabelle was a teenager, her father had an arm cast out of solid gold, and everyone marveled at how shiny, yet how lifelike Annabelle's new arm was, even if it was cold and artificial. Annabelle's mother died of a fever not long after the casting of the golden arm. And a few years after that, her father died in a steamboat explosion. And so, young, lovely Annabelle Walters lived by herself in her family's old mansion with only an old dog named Ranger to keep her company. Now, of course, many bachelors wanted to marry Miss Walters for her wealth. They talked of love and affection, but Annabelle was no fool. As she turned away many a scheming suitor. But George was different. His family didn't come from well. He had been a self-made rancher out west, but most importantly, he truly loved Annabelle for who she was, and not for her money. The two wed, and they shared several happy years together. And then, one dreary October, Annabelle fell sick with the same fever that killed her mother.
So yeah, quite a fun story. I love the way it builds up, and I can tell why he likes to tell it live. It just works so well live with, the way it ends, it's just like, it's an interesting little, build up and stuff, so that was really fun. And then, of course, like I said, they took turns between MrCreepyPasta, Myuu, and CreepsMcPasta. I already showed some of the Myuu stuff, but cutting back to CreepsMcPasta, after, having a couple rounds of people going up solo, he had a couple go up. And the couple going up was really funny. They were bickering quite a bit, and the girl was kind of trashy on the guy a little bit. So that was fun. And the audience had been purposely trying to mess up the other people. And so, Creeps kind of brings that into the show. And it was kind of a mess, but it was really hilarious. So, I have another clip right here.
Include you guys in the game. And I mysteriously, let's make up a story, I checked behind the mirror around back as I was looking at myself narcissistically, and I found this. It's one. If you can read my eldritch handwriting, which is terrible, I've been standing the way the whole time. Ooh, it's one free. Ask the audience, which you can cash in at any time. So you guys have to be quiet until they cast it in, because they only have one, and that's how the rules is going to work.
And yeah, so they played the game, and I believe they got farther than anyone he says has gone before. They ended up getting 4 points, I want to say, which is really, really good. And then I think MrCreepyPasta, because he won one round, because he was kind of volunteered to be, the odd man out on a certain thing, he gave them one of his points. So technically they got 5 points, and so they got a voucher for a bunch of free stuff from the store. So that was really nice, So that was a lot of fun. Like I said, unfortunately I don't have too much footage of the game show, but trust me, it's one of those things where you have to be there, participate in the crowd. It was just a whole lot of fun, And finally, that brings us to our last story from MrCreepyPasta, in which he explains the third level of fear.
Howdy. Okay, so, back to the pop quiz. We went through gross, we went through horror, and the last one was... Terror, that's right. Terror is actually a really interesting one. Terror? Terror? Cool. Terror is actually a really interesting one, because it's actually really difficult to quantify. You can't say it's specifically ghost, you can't say it's specifically poop. It's hard to put together. It's always something that's mundane, but still carries this horror connotation to it. And one thing that I always kind of feel like it kind of speaks to is more nightmares, dreams, things like that. So this last story is from Vincent Vinacava. It's titled Sleep Paralysis.
And yeah, he starts telling a story about sleep paralysis by Vincent Vinacava. And I don't know about you guys, I've never experienced sleep paralysis, but I know some people who have. And so that's what makes the story so creepy, that it's based on something that does happen and that's hard to explain. And then when people have experienced sleep paralysis, they've experienced some really freaky stuff. So as you listen to the story, you start getting into it. And I think it's a really good story, so I have, kind of the tail end of it. But trust me, listening to the story, the way MrCreepyPasta sells it and builds it up, it's awesome,
My heart was beating like a drum inside my chest. The grandfather clock in my study struck 12, and the initial chime nearly made me jump from my seat. The woman's voice grew louder, more tenacious, more aggressive, and I thought that I might go mad from the sound of it. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. The woman reached the head of the bed and leaned down, parted her hair, and my mouth went dry from fright. Just as Vanessa had said, it wasn't a woman at all. Perhaps in some ways its body bore a warped and twisted resemblance to that of a woman, but the word woman would imply that what I was looking at was human, and the thing's face was anything but that. It was covered in eyes, hundreds of them, thousands of them, eyes within eyes, all different shapes and sizes. I felt as insane as this might sound, that they were watching me just as closely as they were watching Vanessa. They glowed like awful green emeralds on my computer screen. I wondered what horrible color they were in person. Don't look at me! Don't look at me! Don't look at me! I would have leapt up and run screaming from my house in that instant if I hadn't noticed Vanessa beginning to stir in her bed. God, no, I thought. She's beginning to wake from her sleep paralysis. The thing stood still as a statue, face just inches from Vanessa. It happened so fast, my poor girl snapped her head around, saw the creature, then jumped back with a shriek. The creature jumped back as well, as if in shock, let out an ear-splitting shriek of its own, then lunged an arm towards Vanessa and threw the covers off of her. It gripped her around the ankles, and with one of its massive paws, it dragged her, kicking and screaming from the bed. Vanessa tried to free herself, but just like with the man in her story, the thing's grip was too strong. It pulled her violently across the floor and out of frame of the camera. The video probably only lasted for 30 seconds after that, but it felt like I sat there for hours listening to Vanessa's screams fade as if she was being dragged down an impossibly long hallway before the video cut to black. I closed my laptop after that. I went straight to my minibar and I had to take a pull of whiskey. It burned like fire and I nearly coughed it up, but I didn't care. I sat on my couch cradling the bottle in my lap until the sun came up. It took an entire day to come down from that shock of what I had seen, but it wouldn't be long before the horror would return. I woke the following night unable to move my arms and legs. There was a terrible electricity in the air. It smelled of dread, of doom, of death. The sleep paralysis would not last long. My experience with lucid dreaming helped me break whatever spell had been cast over me, but even though I could move my arms and legs, that awful sense of dread had not withered. Instinctually, I remained as still as possible and thanked the Lord that I did. The voice started quietly at first, but it was even more horrendous in person than it had been over my computer screen. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Thanks, guys.
And so yeah, that basically brings us to the end of the show. You know, I know it's kind of an abridged version. Unfortunately, you don't get like that great of a feel for it, but I still wanted to share some stuff, you know. And of course, once the show ended, of course, everyone was free to go buy merch. So of course, I went and bought some merch. Can I get a signed poster? I just want to get some footage of all the merch real quick. It's pretty cool.
Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, just a signed poster, please. Bits of pins. And yeah, that's the posters you see back there. Or at least one of them. You know, let me grab them so you guys can see them a little closer. So yeah, this one I actually got at the event itself. It's, you know, from the tour or whatever, and I got it signed by the three guys, Myuu, MrCreepyPasta, and McPasta. So, you know, bought that. That was really fun. I'm really proud of that one. And I actually brought a poster with me to the event, which is this one. And this poster, I actually got it from Comic-Con a couple of years back. If you guys have followed my channel, I don't know if you remember seeing when I actually, like, got it. And I have some footage where I'm talking to, like, MrCreepyPasta and Vincent Vinacava. And yeah, I asked them if they could sign it. That was really cool. So I have all 4 signatures on here now. I have MrCreepyPasta, Myuu, McPasta, and Vincent Vinacava. And funny story though, it was really awkward when I got this signed because basically the way it worked is that I showed them the poster, you know, and I was trying to say, hey, you know, do you remember when I met you a couple years ago? How'd you sign this for me? And, you know, MrCreepyPasta, he kind of, like, vaguely remembered, I guess. And I was talking to McPasta, and I was saying, like, wow, you know, when I bought this, I never knew if I was going to be able to, like, have you sign it because, you know, you're from, like, out of country or whatever, and it's really exciting. And I was kind of talking to him about it. And as he's about to sign it, I'm kind of telling him about how I bought it and how MrCreepyPasta and Vincent Vinacava had signed it. And then, you know, Vincent Vinacava, he attended the show as, like, a guest or whatever. He was kind of drinking, like, to the side or whatever. And he's like, when did I sign that? You know, like, I guess he didn't really remember. I don't know. And that's where things got really awkward. Because if you guys remember my footage from, you know, that Comic-Con event, one of the things that Vincent Vinacava said was...
Mr. Creepypasta, and I like midget porn.
So yeah, so to try to be funny, I figured, like, okay, unless it's something he tells every day, I'm gonna, like, say the thing, and either he'll remember because it's something so, like, strange, or at least it'll give him a laugh. So he's like, oh, when did I sign this? Blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, it was a couple years ago at Phoenix Comic-Con. Don't you remember? It's when you told me about how you like midget porn. And it was so awkward. I thought he was going to laugh. I thought he would remember something. It just went right over his head. He looks at me really awkwardly. And I could tell he didn't remember any of that. And he just looks at me really awkwardly. And, like, the group kind of grows silent, and everyone's just kind of, like, looking around. And I was like, oh, my God, I could die right now. It was just so awkward. Because, like I said, since he made that joke, I figured, either he would remember it because it's just such an out there thing, or that he would at least kind of, like, laugh from, like, how strange of, like, a saying it is. But when I said that, he just, like, awkwardly looked around, and everyone just kind of fell silent. And, yeah, it was really awkward, guys. But besides that, though, besides that awkward moment at the end where I said that, and then I guess I was like, okay, thanks anyway. And I was like, oh yeah, can I take a picture, I guess? And I took a picture with them and then kind of awkwardly shuffled off. I had a good time. It was a really fun event, Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have all the footage to, like, really show you guys. Unfortunately, I was really dumb and forgot to charge my phone. But I think you guys get the idea, It was like a really fun, special, I would say kind of intimate event. Where, I heard some spooky stories get read to me. There was, like, a fun game show that focused on, like, horror and stuff. And there was, like, a musician, and he was playing all sorts of different, creepypasta soundtracks and stuff. So that was really fun. So that was my adventures, going to see Mr. Creepypasta. I had a great time. Really enjoyed the tour. If you ever have a chance to attend something like this, I would recommend it. I think it's a whole lot of fun. And yeah, guys, I don't know how into, any of these people on YouTube you guys are, but if you guys, like I said, if there's ever another tour that he's doing or whatever, I suggest going. It was only like $20, and I think it was way worth it. And yeah, guys, I just had fun with that. I want to share that with you guys. Hopefully you guys had fun looking at my little video that I put together. And yeah, guys, have a wonderful evening. My name is Wannabe Reviewer. Bye-bye.